viewers, welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, welcome. Here in this channel we talk about relaxed hair growth tips, protective styling, and so much more concerning the hair topic in general. So if you know you're interested in this type of content, please consider subscribing to join the family. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys more hair growth tips. So if you've not seen my last video, please do check it out because it was actually the part 1 of this video. So here is the part 2 of the 2022 hair growth tips. Without further ado, we are just going to get started. I mentioned about 7 tips in the part 1 of this video, so we are just going to continue from number 8. So the first tip I'm going to be talking about in this part is trim when necessary. You know, this trimming topic is always so controversial. You hear some people saying trim your hair every 3 months, some people say trim your hair every 6 weeks, some say trim your hair once in 6 months, and there's also a controversy as to how much hair you should trim off. You know, when I posted my trimming video, I got a lot of funny comments in that video, but one thing you should know, and like I always say, is that everyone's hair is different. There is no hard and fast rule when it comes to your hair care or your hair regimen or your hair journey as a whole. Some people trim their hair every 3 months, and if they go longer than that, their hair will turn into a disaster. So it's actually advisable for them to stick to that 3 months, while some can go as long as 2 years, 3 years without trimming their hair, and there won't be any problem with the hair or with the ends. One thing you should know is that when it comes to trimming your hair, you are actually trimming off damaged parts. It's not a habit, and there's no rule that say you have to trim your ends regardless of the state of your ends. I don't see why you should go and trim your ends when they are healthy. That's for me though. Everyone has their own belief, but personally for me, I don't trim my hair every 3 months or every 6 months. I never did that. And there are some people I know that don't even trim. All they do is dust off their ends. So the point of this tip is that know when to trim your hair. I know my ends may not be the healthiest on planet Earth, but my trimming regimen has been working for me so far. So I am not coming here to tell you guys to trim your hair every 3 months or trim your hair every 6 months. I am coming to tell you guys to trim your hair when necessary. Observe your ends, and when you know they are damaged, they are split, then you can go in and get a trim, because I don't see a reason why you should go on and trim your ends when they are perfectly fine. So only trim your hair when necessary, when the ends are split, when they are damaged, when they are see-through. So moving on, the next tip I'm going to talk about is do not trim more than your growth rate. Now, if your goal is to maintain your current length, you can actually trim at the same rate as which your hair grows. But if you are trimming your hair more than your growth rate, it means you actually want your hair to get shorter, because if your hair grows like 2 inches in 3 months and you cut off 3 inches of hair every 3 months, your hair is going to get shorter by 1 inch every 3 months. So do not trim more than your growth rate unless your goal is actually to reduce the length of your hair. So in order to do this, you have to know the growth rate of your hair so that you can compare it to your trimming rate. So if your hair grows about 3 inches in 3 months and you want to reduce the length of your hair, you obviously have to cut off more than 3 inches. If you want to maintain the length of your hair, then you cut off 3 inches every 3 months. But if your goal is to retain length and see a positive result in length retention, then you obviously have to cut less than 3 inches every 3 months. Now moving on, the next tip I'm going to be talking about is find ways to save and protect your ends. I am a huge fan of preventing the damage rather than finding a way to correct the damage. So that's why I always find ways to keep my ends away, find ways to save my ends, find ways to protect my ends away from the harsh environment, from my clothes, from friction, from the wall and all that. The only reason you are seeing my hair down like this is because I'm filming a video. Other than that, my hair is always in protective styles, either long-term or short-term protective styles. Ever since my last relaxer routine, I have been putting my hair in a bun, but prior to that, I have been using box braids, twists, wigs, any protective stuff you can think of, crochet. So always find ways to keep your ends healthy, because if your ends can be healthy, you won't have a problem with length retention. Because like I always say, when there's a problem with length retention, it's obviously from breakage, and where those breakage occurs at the end. So if you can keep your ends safe, there is no way you are going to lose more hair than necessary. You may just have hair shedding, which is normal because everyone is expected to lose about 100 strands of hair per day. That is normal. But outside that normal hair loss, avoid any other hair loss. Try and protect your ends to prevent breakage. So moving on, the next tip I'm going to be talking about is stretch your relaxers. If you watch my hair care regimen video, which I posted I think last week, you see in that video where I mentioned that my regimen revolves around two things, basically two things: protective styling and stretching my relaxers. Every other thing I do, moisturizing, conditioning, washing, revolves around those two things. So one of the things that have helped me majorly in my hair journey and to see length retention was stretching my relaxers, and it was actually one of the things that I did to help me get past my growth plateau, which was at mid back length. So one of the things that I implemented when I was at that plateau was actually stretching my relaxers, and ever since then I have been progressively stretching my relaxer from 3 months to 4 months to 6 months, 8 months. My last relaxer stretch was 1 year, but I don't think I'm ever going to go on a 1 year relaxer stretch again. Not that it was bad or anything like that. I actually saw positive results from that relaxer stretch because it was after that 1 year relaxer stretch that I got to almost tailbone length. But the thing is, it was a struggle. If you watch my previous videos and you followed me through it, because I was giving updates about every 2 weeks while I was on that relaxer stretch. If you watch the whole process from when I started to when I eventually relaxed my hair, you will see that it was a struggle. So I may just have to stick to a lesser duration of relaxer stretches, but not that I'm relaxing my hair at every 2 months. And even though my next relaxer stretch is going to be at 3 months, the reason I'm doing that is because I'm trying to correct my under processed and unprocessed hair I got from my previous relaxer routine. So I'll always advise that you stretch your relaxers, but not beyond the point of breakage. One of the reasons why stretching your relaxers is advisable is because during your next relaxer routines, it prevents overlapping of relaxers, which in turn leads to stronger hair and healthier hair. Because the more you overlap your relaxers, the more over processed your hair will be and the more fragile it will become, and then there is more tendency for it to break. Second reason why it's necessary for you to stretch your relaxers is because during your relaxer application, you notice that you actually manipulate your hair a lot. So it's actually a very manipulative process. So the more you stretch your relaxers, the less manipulation your hair tends to get. As you know, I'm a huge fan of low manipulation. So moving on, the next thing I'm going to be talking about is plan for every routine. Be it detangling, moisturizing, washing, relaxer routines, anything else what you want to do for your hair or to your hair, plan in advance. For example, I'm going to relax my hair in 3 weeks. Well, I've started planning. I started thinking of the product I'm going to use if everything is ready, if there's anything I need to do prior to that 3 weeks to put my hair in a healthy state. So always plan for every routine. You can't just wake up one morning and head out to relax your hair without planning for it in advance. If you do that, you'll be more likely to miss a step. You'll be more likely to forget something. It's always better to plan ahead so that you have everything you need in hand to avoid stories that touch after carrying out the routine itself. So always plan for every routine in advance. Now, the next tip I'm going to be talking about is take down any form of long-term protective styles 2 weeks before your relaxer routines, and this is something I usually do and show you guys before every relaxer routine I carry out. Sometimes I go as low as 1 week, which is not actually advisable. It's advisable that you go 2 weeks before your relaxer routine. So anything at all, be it wigs, braids, box braids, twists, crochet, any form of heavy protective styles like that, make sure you take them out at least 2 weeks before your relaxer routine, because a relaxer routine is a stressful process. You want to give your hair enough time to rest, enough time for your scalp to recover before the relaxer routine itself. If not, you are more likely to get scalp burns and hair damage on the relaxer day itself. Now, the next tip I'm going to be talking about is do not install any form of heavy protective styles at least 2 weeks after your relaxer routine. And the same protective style that I mentioned before: box braids, twist, crochet, and all that. And it's actually because of the same reason. You want to give your hair enough time, you want to give your scalp enough time to heal and rest from the relaxer application process before you go into install another protective style. If you notice, or if you've been following me, you know that immediately after a relaxer routine, I don't install any protective style like twist, braids, and all that. What I do is literally put my hair in a bun, and my hair has been in a bun for the past 9 weeks, and I think that's how I'm going to keep carrying it till I eventually relax my hair, because my next relaxer routine is like 3 weeks away, so I obviously cannot install any protective style right now. So again, this video is getting too long. In total, I think I've mentioned about 14 tips. We have about 8 more tips to go, which means I'm gonna have to make a part 3 of that video. Hopefully I can put all the 8 tips together in that video so that we get done with these hair growth tips video. So if you watched this video this far and you enjoyed it, please don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. If you're new here and you aren't subscribed, please consider subscribing to join the family, and don't forget to turn on the post notification bell so that you'll be the first to get notified whenever I upload a new video. So yeah guys, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.